It actually took a very tough beating to get me out of the sport.
By PacMan.
Manny Pacquiao.
Have you ever pondered what a champion thinks about when this fighter returns to the ring after a long absence? Have you ever wondered if he can still conjure the fire that previously made him unstoppable?
Beat the hell out of me. Manny Pacquiao would be right in front of me. He would, after hitting me 15 times,
Oscar de la Hoya knew boxing was a sport best left to young men. But here he was, Manny Pacquiao, 46, 4 years out of official competition, moving with a speed and ferocity that defied every expectation as he stood in that gym, the air thick with the sound of gloves on bag, watching a familiar figure shadow boxing with the same intensity that once defined his prime.
Then I would be ready to hit him, and he would be wide open, and I couldn't pull the trigger. I just couldn't pull the...
When De La Hoya arrived to check if the legend still resided in those fists, he discovered a fighter who had returned for the primal rush of combat rather than nostalgia.
I remember to this day the conversation I had with Oscar when I first told him, hey, you should fight Pacquiao.
After sparring rounds and sweat-soaked drills with Pacquiao, De La Hoya's first words blazed through the gym like a live wire. He didn't confront the years that had gone by, he didn't downplay the significance of Pacquiao's illustrious past, he just spoke in a respectful and disbelieving tone about the heart he saw in every jab, every combination, and the unquestionable spark that still danced in Pacquiao's eyes.
That fight, people are excited. He's the guy that's coming up. He's fast, Oscar, but eventually your size is going to break him down.
De La Hoya explained how Pacquiao, a man who once made history in boxing by winning titles in 8 weight classes, trained with the adolescent's ferocity and a surgeon's precision. Every punch was measured but explosive, and every footwork drill was performed as if Pacquiao's body remembered more than 40 years of combat in the ring. De La Hoya acknowledged that he had been mistaken to believe that aging would lessen that edge.
It's not right. I can see it in his eyes. He's not even throwing punches. What is he doing?
Pacquiao snakes his left hand through De La Hoya's guard.
When the topic of Pacquiao's motivations came up, De La Hoya asked everyone why they should come back now that there was nothing left to prove. Pacquiao's response, which was a straightforward statement of love for the sweet science and a desire to compete against the greatest, reverberated more powerfully than any knockout punch. Observing him move, De La Hoya nodded in recognition that real fighters never truly retire. Instead, they simply wait for the next challenge to rekindle their passion. De La Hoya noticed that Pacquiao had not lost the lightning-fast reflexes or the blazing power that used to make opponents shudder. Those 4 years off from professional fights had not only allowed him to recuperate, but it added fuel to a deeper fire at 46. Younger competitors have been vying for boxing's top spot for decades, but Pacquiao's comeback was unique. It was the return of a legend cautiously prepared to put his mettle to the test against youth itself. Recalling the first time he sparred with a southpaw so elusive that he failed to strike a decisive blow, De La Hoya reminded everyone why Pacquiao's name is inscribed in boxing legend.
He had no legs, he had no pop, he had no punch.
De La Hoya described the tales he had heard about Pacquiao running in the morning, meditating at night, and juggling church services and MIT work in between. He depicted a disciplined regimen that combined spirituality and athletics, one that made every other fighter camp appear like a practice. Critics once mocked Pacquiao's advanced age, but in De La Hoya's vivid memory, it only made him more formidable. Then came the contemplation of their own fight from years ago, in which De La Hoya spoke bluntly about the punishment he received. 15 precise punches, each landing with the force of a sermon, and how he entered the ring unprepared, making weight-cutting mistakes that sapped his strength in the moment he realized he was up against more than just a man, a force of nature. De La Hoya acknowledged that this memory had plagued him, but now it served as evidence of Pacquiao's enduring skill. De La Hoya then turned to the subtleties of sparring etiquette, explaining how Pacquiao's camp tolerated unprofessional filming while fostering an environment of mutual respect and trust. He even revealed secret small snippets of Pacquiao's training that were leaked, but were always protected by a code of honor that no Real fighter would violate. Pacquiao moved like a man half his age. His angles were surprising and his combos were sharp. De La Hoya observed that the warrior's instincts remained even during private workouts.
Pacquiao is making De La Hoya look old, slow, ineffectual. De La Hoya had zero answers.
He described how Pacquiao's contempt for safety nets was shown during close-quarters training. According to De La Hoya, there were no soft landings or simple escape routes. As De La Hoya spoke, the story of Pacquiao's journey from young phenom to global superstar, from political office back to prize fighting, all leading up to this moment, was revealed. Pacquiao approached every drill as if it were fight night, as if his legacy depended on every left hook and every pivot. Pacquiao's resume spoke for itself, But it was the fire in his eyes that convinced De La Hoya that the impending fight with Mario Barrios was not a passing fling but rather a genuine attempt to defy time itself in those closing moments. De La Hoya warned that Barrios, despite being younger and hungry, would face a test unlike any he had known. De La Hoya pleaded with Pacquiao to recall the excitement that initially drew him to the sport, reminding him that every victor represents the aspirations of both young fighters and national fans who watched with dreams in their hearts. The final words of De La Hoya were, simply put, legends never die, they just rise and fall and then rise again. Oscar De La Hoya chuckled as he observed Mario Borri's shadow box across from Pacquiao.
I was scared. And I said, you know what? The spark's not there. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it.
A fighter in his prime was trying to shake the ghost of a legend with rippling muscles and fixated eyes. Barrios matched combinations with speed, but Pacquiao danced around him with light arms, low feet, and this was the oldest boxing tactic, according to De La Hoya, who saw that Barrios had all the equipment but had no idea how to break a warrior's rhythm. The room erupted when the instructor yelled speed and Barrios launched a barrage of jabs. The youth De La Hoya recognized the gleam in Pacquiao's face after each missed blow, the grin of a guy who knew he still had the keys to the kingdom, and warned that this grin alone could shatter Barrios' self-confidence before the bell. Pacquiao bobbed and weaved, not just blocking but teasing the youth. De La Hoya maintained that the focus on fight night will be more on mental strategies than strength. De La Hoya recalled his own formative years, when a jab felt like a landing rocket. He asked whether Barrios realized that a veteran's jab carried years of suffering and purpose. He cautioned the audience that while power might fade, accuracy endured forever. He claimed that every seasoned fighter knew that a single well-placed jab could dash a young man's hopes, and that Pacquiao's return to glory was heralded by that jab.
Love to fight Pacquiao again because he kicked my ass. So. But yeah, there were many fighters out there who I would have loved to fight 2 or 3 times.
When Pacquiao transitioned to defensive drills, the gym fell silent. He absorbed combinations and then countered with a flick that snapped a punching bag backward. La Hoya praised Pacquiao's defense, saying it had the elegance of classical dance but the intent of cold steel. He made fun of modern trainers who were obsessed with fancy tech, saying that real defense was forged in countless rounds under pain and sweat. He said that no machine could replicate the instincts honed by real battles, adding that Pacquiao's instincts were still sharper than any algorithm.
So you had enough of Pacquiao is what you're saying.
Oh, trust me. Right when I walked into the ring, I had enough of Pacquiao.
To consider the wider perspective, De La Hoya changed his tone. He asked rhetorically if any of us really understood what 40 years of boxing did to a man's body and mind. He refused to romanticize it, highlighting the scars, aches, and nights of doubt when even legends feel the pull of rest. But here Pacquiao was choosing the ring over ease. De La Hoya claimed that choice alone was the fiercest punch of all. He wasn't just fighting Barrios. He was fighting time itself.
You thought that when you got in the ring?
Oh, well, Rich, this documentary, my gosh, it's sad too at the end because it shows the whole Pacquiao situation.
He described a funny incident in which Pacquiao stopped the exercise in the middle of Barrios' stride to fix his footwork. When Pacquiao pointed out a small issue, Barrios' eyes widened. La Hoya remarked, "The scene was like watching your old teacher school the new recruit with no mercy." He underlined that teaching demands expertise and that only masters impart knowledge so bluntly. He joked that Barrios hadn't yet absorbed the worst lesson in the ring if he felt ashamed. When Pacquiao started speed drills, De La Hoya explained, the gym staff cleared the area. He claimed that the room became a silent cathedral, with every punch resonating like a prayer. He joked that if athletes focused half as much on their craft as Pacquiao did, the entire sport would be saints in gloves. He emphasized that dedication was uncommon and that Pacquiao wore it like armor. He said that this silent ceremony was more telling than any highlight reel. The focus of the story changed to recuperation. De La Hoya described how every veteran fighter woke up to muscle tears and joint pains, joking that Barrios likely believed that soreness was a myth. He also described Pacquiao's recovery routine, which included cold baths, massages, and disciplined rest, contrasting it with contemporary athletes' indulgence in comfort and complacency. He maintained that recovery discipline was the unsaid factor behind every comeback.
I was getting beat up in training camp when preparing for Pacquiao. So I knew that was the end already for me.
He depicted Pacquiao kneeling in prayer before training, and he stated unequivocally that faith had always been his fulcrum. He refused to call it sentimental, viewing it as strategic calm, and cautioned that undervaluing a fighter's inner peace was as stupid as ignoring his footwork. He claimed that peace allowed Pacquiao to see clearly in chaos, making every punch matter. De La Hoya recalled the moment Pacquiao lifted a weight heavier than any Barrios bench pressed, describing how the veteran handled it gracefully, his muscles coiling and releasing like a cat stalking prey. He ridiculed the notion that strength often peaked when the body and mind learned to move in unison, declaring that this harmony was the true source of power. He switched to the mental game, stating that boxing was 50% physical and 50% who believed hardest. He highlighted Pacquiao's unwavering faith in his mission, contrasting it with Barrios's doubts whenever he missed a punch or felt his breath tighten. According to De La Hoya, Pacquiao's head remained unshakable, and fighters carry their destiny in their own minds.
Because Pacquiao was just coming up.
Yeah.
Pacquiao was like the star in the making.
De La Hoya responded to the criticism that Pacquiao's best years were over, mocking commentators who evaluated fighters based on their highlights rather than their heart. He maintained that a fighter's fight IQ improved with age, like a blade sharpening rather than dulling, and that experience enabled veterans to anticipate and take advantage of errors in ways that young people could never. He urged the audience to place more value on wisdom than sheer speed. As De La Hoya drew a humorous epitaph for Pacquiao's detractors, "Here lies your confidence," the debate became lighthearted. After laughing at his own gesture 6 rounds into the comeback, he cautioned that comedy frequently hides harsh reality, saying that warriors who laughed last did so with the final bell. After reflecting on legacy, De La Hoya depicted young Filipino children watching television with their hearts racing at every Pacquiao jab. He maintained that Pacquiao's comeback inspired faith in the impossibly possible and that this fight would reverberate in gyms where dreams were born. He claimed that this type of legacy never wanes but instead intensifies with each new convert.
But what really screwed up my whole training for that fight was I started drinking heavy.
He moved to the business side, pointing out that legends attract attention outside of the ring. He joked that while Barrios would win on paper, Pacquiao would win in the headlines since the comeback story was more popular with pay-per-view statistics. He questioned whether any contemporary debut could match the drama of a veteran's comeback. He claimed that boxing thrived on stories, and few were as captivating as Pacquiao's De La Hoya, which described the night before the fight when Pacquiao lay awake, his muscles humming, his mind racing through scenarios. He asked if true champions ever find rest or just rest their bodies. He said that nightmares of missed punches haunted titles, but Pacquiao used them as fuel, calling it controlled insomnia. He ridiculed the idea that youth could intimidate a legend, comparing Barrios's confidence to a spark and Pacquiao's to a wildfire. He insisted that youth without direction burned out while veteran resolve blazed on.
During training camp, and nobody knew. Oh yeah. I mean, it gets... So I was literally a dead man walking into...
De La Hoya recalled how the world reacted when Foreman knocked out Moore at 45, saying that while people cheered, they wrote it off as a fluke. He cautioned that history frequently repeats itself with justice turned upside down, and he predicted that Pacquiao's victory would follow Foreman's script and, at last, rewrite expectations. With a challenge bet on the boxing legend who never left his throne, De La Hoya concluded by reminding fans that the sport's heart beats strongest when the old guard opposes the new. He said that July 19th would not be just another fight night but a referendum on beliefs, and he urged viewers to choose between proven greatness and ephemeral potential.
I always was like here, and my mouthpiece, which I had to make special.
The press conference was electrifying. Every question is like a quick jab. Reporters leaned forward, pens poised, and as Pacquiao smiled composedly at the podium, Barrios arrived with a swagger, telling the world that he was prepared. Cameras flashed continuously, recording every raised eyebrow and clenched jaw. De La Hoya, who watched from the front row, nodding at every sharp exchange at the weigh-in. Tension flared when Pacquiao stepped onto the scale, and the crowd hushed as the numbers settled before roared in approval. Barrios tipped the scales. His rival fighters stared at each other, never letting go. Security moved in only to contain the building energy. Memes and hot takes that fans discussed on live streaming became viral on social media. Some make fun of age, while others commend it. Within minutes, heart hashtags went viral, bringing the fight to everyone on the planet. Competing boxing apps even issued warnings to users not to miss history. The world seemed to hold its breath as the loudness increased. As additional information surfaced, bookmakers changed their positions. When sources revealed Pacquiao's intense sparring sessions, early favorites began to wane. After his own highlight videos went viral, Barrios' chances increased, but the majority of analysts continued to believe in the veteran's ring IQ. Although money moved both ways, Pacquiao's influence was greater. Boxing history, Comeback fights are particularly significant because fighters like Foreman and Hopkins shown that being older can be a weapon. Every return to the ring defies predictions and serves as a reminder to fans of why they fell in love with the sport. Pacquiao's comeback echoed those historic moments and hinted at another masterpiece. In the final training montage, the romanticism of the veteran's story had greater impact than any knockout. The montage concluded with a close-up of Pacquiao's face, eyes fixed on an invisible horizon, and nothing could shake the serene intensity there as he ran through drills with laser focus, his gloves snapping against pads, his feet dancing across the canvas, and sweat flying like rain. Barrios matched rounds with youthful zeal, but his moves lacked the same polish. From fitted suits to gaudy entrance robes, ringside fashion stole glances. Barrios chose vivid colors and striking designs in an effort to stand out, whereas Pacquiao favored a plain robe sewn with a tiny flag above his heart. The difference spoke loudly. Veteran modesty contrasted with young flair. If you're excited for the big event, you'll see spectators dressed to the nines transforming the arena into a runway. Please hit like, subscribe, and comment with your guess below. Let's see who genuinely thinks that a champion has a heart.